So in March 2021, Andrew Lerner wrote in a blog for Gartner that by 2025, at least 60% of enterprises will have explicit strategies and timelines for SASE adoption that will encompass user branch and edge access. And that will be a rise of 10% from 10% in 2021 to, that will be a rise from 10% in 2020. So a 50% rise in 5 years is quite a steep change. And I also found another report published by Markets and Markets, which predicted that SASE will be worth about It predicted that SASE will be worth about $4.1 billion globally in 2026, up from $1.2 billion in 2021. So that's a compound annual growth rate of 26.4. And that Markets and Markets report highlighted in particular that Europe and Asia have many untapped and unexplored opportunities. So we're looking at an area of great growth. And so against that backdrop, and against the backdrop of moving to cloud-based solutions and working from home becoming increasingly common, companies have been adopting more and more security solutions. But this has generally made their lives more complicated, and also they're not necessarily as effective as the companies want them to be. So Frank, I'm very pleased to be able to see you now.
Thank you.
That your laptop finally decided to behave.
Yeah, absolutely. We made it.
Okay, so let's get going with our conversation. So maybe to start with, could you tell me how your customers see SASE?
Yes. So, and do we somehow a link with the previous presentation from Telefonica? So at Orange Business, we have decided to address our customers' infrastructure outcomes. And when I say infrastructure, I'm speaking about digital infrastructure, as we perceive that digital infrastructure is really the supply chain of customer business, because they are now entering literally into what we call a digital first business. Any business is enabled by digital. And so we are focusing to support them in 6 use cases, like digital consulting, multi-cloud optimization to make sure that they have the right strategy on cloud networking, because everything moving to cloud needs to be managed accordingly in terms of making sure that the digital experience is fine for users. Observability, because everything is virtual, so you need to have this clear view. Cloud security, and of course SASE. And probably SASE is currently one of the most important topics while we are discussing with customers on their infrastructure side. We can say that there is no more SD1 project or renewal which are not part of a more global SASE type of approach. I think it's exactly that. It's moving forward today.
Okay, and what would you say it is about SASE that customers really want? What is it that they want it to do for them?
There is always plenty of use cases, plenty of driver to go to a SASE project. But let's say that currently we can see 3 main elements on that space. First one, of course, and you mentioned it at the beginning, it's an explosion of the working from home that everyone has been doing for months now. And the question for companies is how to regulate that, how to make sure that they are doing it in a safer or in a simpler manner, to be certain that they are providing, at the end of the day, employee with the right digital experience while being secure in the meantime. On that matter, there is a specific point that some companies are looking for very specifically, and it's also to ensure that the IT teams in charge of this have also the right tools to manage, because it's coming as a a main use case in the IT space. So they need to be equipped with the right tools, also to have a kind of IT user experience, which is fine to manage this kind of thing. So that's one driver: simplify security and how to manage a security policy for working from home. Then we have a second play, which is the intensive usage of a public cloud type of application, where again, simplifying and managing the security policy is very important, while making sure of the performance of the application and the experience. So it's somehow in that space also a question of streamlining the design for both SD-WAN and security. And the third element is how to, it's around the rationalization of numbers of technology partners for companies, because very often, and especially in the security space, they are sourcing one technology vendor to the secure web gateway, maybe another one to handle the access to the company network, whether it is VPN or not, another one to do the firewalling. So it means 3, 4, maybe in average, between 3 and 4 technology vendor to manage what are the use case of SASE. So companies are really seeing in that space SASE a very good opportunity to analyze this number of security vendors and how it impacts the number of skills within their IT task force. As for every vendor, they need people skills. So immediately when you have only one vendor, it's easier to manage. So in this last element, it could be also extended to a single vendor for SD-WAN and security, what we call SASE, the SEC part of SASE. I have in mind that case of a recent customer that has made this specific ask for his project. Probably early stage on this, but will probably be a topic in coming years. So to make things clear, so 3 elements: working from home, that means zero trust comes with the length; intensive cloud consumption with SaaS and IaaS, that requires to reinforce security and simplifying the design architecture and reducing the number of security vendors. That are the 3 main.
So I think your observation about companies generally wanting to deal with fewer vendors is really interesting, because that Gartner blog I referred to at the beginning found that by 2024, 30% of enterprises will adopt cloud-delivered software web gateways and blah, 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 and stuff like firewall as a service. So a whole list of functions from the same vendor. So that's by 2024, 30% of enterprises will be looking to one vendor to supply a whole list of stuff. And that's up from only 5% in 2020. So that is definitely a growing trend. So could you just walk us through and describe some of the core components of SASE and what it
yeah. So I think core components of SASE, first we have on the connectivity space, the SD-WAN, what we call the software-defined wide area network, which is today the norm of the WAN, as it gives agility to the IT that has evolved from private data center-centric configuration to a fully dispersed IT, including public or hybrid multi-cloud, IaaS and SaaS consumption. Moving now to a user-centric IT configuration, which is quite important for SASE. This move to the user-centric IT configuration. Then we have on the security space, the secure web gateway to protect workload moving to the cloud, enforcing security policy. We have the CASB, what we call the CASB, the Cloud Access Security Broker, that allows to manage a cross-platform security with a single panel or dashboard. We have the zero trust network access that I already mentioned, which is very important for working from home, that grants access base for user based on their identities and no more on the fact that they are in a secure network as it was with MPLS and VPN. And we have the firewall as a service, which is the firewall, but is cloud-based. So it's as any solution cloud-based, it's able to first to scale rapidly, and also to facilitate the common policy in terms of firewalling between sites, between worker from home. So it facilitates as well all the management of the security on that base.
I'm just smiling because it's introducing a whole new raft of acronyms and abbreviations. Because telecoms really needs more. Okay.
Not sure.
So, do you think that SASE will completely take over from SD-WAN? Will it replace it, or is SD-WAN still a better option in certain circumstances?
The short answer is no, to be very clear. So I would rather say that SASE is quite a natural evolution of SD-WAN. Okay. You know, when we first launched SD-WAN, we were each time we were saying that there is no SD-WAN without security. So it's just reinforcing that pace and that fact. Currently, businesses are moving from, as I said before, digital transformation, business to digital being the norm. Companies are also using digital assets to build on their new business, and more globally, that changes the way they operate and deliver value. That's globally what's going on the business side. And when you translate that into SD-WAN and SASE, what is the panorama finally? First, we all know that internet works well for a large part of workloads, at least in a major part of the geography of this world. Applications, they are located, dispersed everywhere in the world at the nearest location of users or machines using them, themselves located everywhere. Simplification in technology is a keyword, is a buzzword, a keyword in any business, in any companies, absolutely. And last but not least, cloud experience with elastic capabilities, digital experience, resilience infrastructure is the new tech standard. So with all this, companies are requiring, in one hand, to manage their major sites with on-prem solutions that can fit to the importance, the complexity of a wide panel of different users, machine, services, lots of sometimes complex requirements. And this together with the management of numerous sites, much simpler in terms of requirement when it comes to workload and diversity of usages. So we can see that SD-WAN and SASE, which is the two of them are making the SASE, are addressing this combination of three things. Being able to manage SD-WAN on-prem, able for fitting the complex sites with internet, with still a bit of MPLS in certain area and for certain workloads, alongside on-prem with firewall, on-prem firewall, next-gen firewall, because sometimes you need on-prem next-gen firewall due to the, again, the complexity, the throughput that you need, a lot of things. You can have the simple SD-WAN boxes with a combination of different internet access to ensure resiliency for a large number of sites, and the security cloud-based, the famous SASE, to facilitate the management of the security for these simpler sites, together with people working remotely. So all this is providing a lot of sense. And last but not least, you can also put the maximum of workload management for security and connectivity inside the clouds that gives the capacity to deliver a cloud experience for both security and connectivity. So globally, all this allows to simplify today both SD-WAN and security design with management system cloud-based that are, at least on the security side, able to manage on-prem, complex site security policy, being the same as simple site security policy, and as well working from home. So it's a very important benefit. And just jumping to the conversation before the presentation, say it's also the reason why we are moving to this NAS trend as well, what we call the network as a service, that we are translating within our Evolution platform, within Orange Business, by welcoming SD-WAN and security vendors cloud-based solution directly into infrastructure. So with all that, I think that SASE is currently an evolution of SD-WAN and a way to continue to adapt to a more cloud-based world or dispersed world that we are living in.
Okay. I'm sorry, this question's inevitable. Does cost come into it? Cost always raises its ugly heads sooner or later.
I'm used to address the question of cost with customer. So let's say that when we are speaking about rationalization, of course, cost is part of it. When we say simplification, cost is part of it as well. Mm-hmm. So because our customers who made the transition to SD-WAN 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago still have the full complexity of the VPN, MPLS type of network. We made migration to SD-WAN, keeping the complexity of design, which means, for example, you need multiple VRFs, virtual router forwarding, meaning you need an SD-WAN solution to manage these multiple VRFs. So the price of the license goes up. The management of the system goes up. Now we see them moving to simplifying the design of SD-WAN by reducing the number of sites with complex and elaborate type of solutions in terms of license. So it goes a bit down, moving to simpler solution for the small site and multiple connectivity to ensure the diversity and performance, as I said. So this is where the move to SASE comes in providing, I would say, cost benefits that completely reduce cost, but cost benefits. This by moving the management inside the cloud, avoiding installation cost, simplifying the management, no need for on-site skills for this, facilitating as well the reactivity to adapt to new business requirements. So the thinking forward on I will do in a better way things tomorrow is also part of this element. Also, as we discussed, unifying under a single technology, all the security use case, secure web gateway, firewall as a service, CASB, you name it, whether it is Fortinet SASE, Prisma Access, Netscope, all this kind of editor. This is optimizing for IT security expert inside the company, the number of required expertise. So all in one, from a total cost of ownership perspective, this approach reduces cost significantly of the global architecture, I would say.
Okay, so actually cost is not necessarily instant savings, but maybe a lot of it's operational because you get greater agility and also looking ahead. It's not just doing what you do better now, but how to change the way you do things in future. Yeah,
being more agile for the future as well. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So could we look at SASE in terms of market development? I mean, how far along do you think, if we take a scale of, I don't know, 1 to 10, how far along is SASE in its development? Is it in early days, or do you think we're getting to peak SASE or mature SASE, or?
Yeah. I think concretely, as I said at the beginning, it's a business reality today. What is surprising, again, linking SASE and SD-WAN is how fast our customers are changing their minds, evolving their architecture and their choices. I said very often to our partners, our salespeople, that customers who moved to SD-WAN 3, 4, 5 years ago are really willing to simplify it. And they can make it with the same setup in terms of technology, but they can also change the solutions, moving from vendor A to vendor B or C. I would say they have spent 20 years on MPLS, where we were even not thinking about changing the service provider. It was a risk for them, a risk for a CIO or the CTO to change. Now, in less than 5 years, they have the ability to simplify, change the design completely, completely the solution without major risk as technology have evolved to allow this. So we
that's
have
quite a surprising
far,
change of mind. Do you think
yeah,
it's because of the upheaval we've gone through with COVID, or?
yeah, I think COVID has been an accelerator of all this. I think the pace of the technology as well, and and what COVID provided, I think, in terms of acceleration was the making sure that first people can work from home, remotely from home, and still being efficient, which was not clear in the mind in any country or geography. And secondly, that the tools at our disposal were good enough to make that happen in terms of internet link, in terms of security and all these things. So I think globally, and of course, we have seen that the most resilient businesses were the one who were already, I would say, IT cloud transformed to ensure this resiliency of their business. So all this has accelerated things. So globally, we are not at the peak of the business in SASE, I would say, but as the pace of the technology is accelerating, I would say it will come very fast.
So the customers, in other words, have really appreciated they can gain a great deal from more flexibility and speed by making these changes. They've really understood that.
Absolutely. An IT manager have been quick to understand that, and they are using it extensively, I would say.
So what do you say about so we've talked really more about adoption. What would you say about the maturity of the market?
That's interesting, because if we look back over the last 10 years, on the SD-WAN side, on the connectivity side, we have moved from roughly 60 vendors or more in terms of technology solution to somehow a top 6 in terms of technology editor doing the main part of the market today. Roughly during the same period on the security side, we only had one cloud-based solutions for security, which was Zscaler. And we have been pioneer at Orange Business to manage it. And we now have Palo Alto Prisma Access, we have Netscope, we have Fortinet SASE, and many others that are coming into the market. So I would say that from the technology solution standpoint, the market is mature, and companies can combine best of breed solutions, SD-WAN and security, as they are also accelerating their move to digital business, digital economy, digital being the norm. Where the market continue to evolve, I would say, is in terms of mono vendor approach on SD-WAN plus SSE. As in one hand, lots of technology actors are acting in both sides, but we are still at the early stage of their mono solution approach in terms of maturity. That's my view on the market today.
Okay, so from what you've said, that means there's competition in the market, which people like because of it drives costs down. It gives people confidence when they see big established players in there, and it also drives innovation. Absolutely.
It is absolutely the way we are seeing that currently.
Who do you think will be the winners and losers as SASE gains more traction?
That's really a question mark for me in terms of the next developments that are coming onto the market. So we have different type of actors. Globally, we have the connectivity SD-WAN actors, and we have the security actors, first in terms of technology. As I said before, we are seeing a more important convergence between the two in terms of solutions. I would say that probably the main technology solutions will be over the next 5 years, the one who will be able to offer into one management system, SD-WAN in one end and security in the other end, but being at the highest level for each side of the SASE. I mean, highest level in terms of SD-WAN, highest level in terms of security, because
okay, so it's not be good at one and a bit of a fluff with the other. It's got to be both ends. Okay, Frank, and finally, we've just got a few minutes left. Could you talk to me about how Orange fits into the SASE market and what work you're doing and your approach and your what you've observed in the market? Customers.
Oh yeah. So in terms of what is making us somehow entering into the market, being good into that market. First, we have been quite successful in doing the SD-WAN transformation of our customers. So we have quite an important leading position on that area. And in the meantime, we are absolutely recognized and we have invested a lot to be a European leader in cyber defense. So with more than 3,000 experts, and all this give ability to simplify with personalized managed services any customer needs. So we are doing this full simplification of any SASE project, whether we are starting from a SD-WAN already transformed customers, or whether we are starting from the pure security angle, we are able to make that. We are working currently because the market is, as I said before, fast moving in terms of technology vendors, but we are working with all the leaders, whether it is in SD-WAN or on security. We have the full capacity to answer any requirement from customers, whether it is on a specific vendors or whether it is on a specific needs in terms of feature. And then, as I said at the beginning, we provide enhanced value with Evolution platform. So we are providing consistency with other use cases. When you speak about transformation to the cloud, of course, you need SASE for your users to access application, but you probably need cloud networking around, you probably need a global security approach. So we are able to do that link between the different pieces of the infrastructure side of our customers. And as well, we provide a very good total customer ownership and stronger SLA by delivering SASE as a service from our infrastructure with a worldwide footprint. We still have the most important backbone for dedicated to businesses in the world. And we are hosting into this infrastructure to deliver SASE as a service, technology leader like Cisco on SD-WAN, Netscope, Fortinet on security. So with that, we are able to differentiate currently on the market and to provide the real supply chain of our customer for their digital first business.